Now, where 8th grade kind of takes it one step further is, can you apply that to certain situations on a graph? Can you interpret a graph pretty much? Can you read what the X is talking about, what the Y is talking about? And so we're just going to briefly go over some examples. So when we're talking about systems is where the two lines... systems of equations is something when they're referring to two or more lines. Because in algebra, you see two lines, but when you get to algebra 2, it's going to be two or more, maybe even possibly in geometry. And so remember yesterday, we talked about solution is referring to the point of intersection, so where those lines are crossing. Now, this is where we kind of interpret a graph. So let's break it down before we read the question. So this is a graph where they're only focusing on that first quadrant. Notice that the x-axis is labeled items sold, the y-axis is labeled money made. One line is called company 1, one line is called company 2. So you kind of get the gist of what the graph is talking about. Well, it says in the question, how many items, and I'm looking specifically at items, how many items must be sold for both companies to have the same amount? Well, the only time that the two companies are the same is that point of intersection. But it's not like yesterday where I want the X and the Y. I have to read it carefully because it asks specifically for the items. So if I look at my graph, is items the X or the Y? Well, in this case, items is the X. So how many items are sold where they're the same? Your answer is 6. That's it. I don't want how much they made from 6 items. Now, if it said how much money was made at the same amount, then it would be 30, but that's not my answer. Okay, let's look at number 2. This time, the X is days and the Y's is number of books read. One line's talking about Luke, the other line's talking about Carmen. But it says, on which day will Luke and Carmen have read the same number of books? So again, this is where they're the same, that point of intersection, but it asks specifically for the days. So is that the X or is that the Y? Well, in this case, it's the X. So if I look again here, I have to pay attention to the numbering. So my answer is 9 days. Here's another one. This time, X is days and Y is lemonade sold. One is talking about stand 1, one is talking about stand number 2. But it says how much lemonade must the two stands sell to have sold the same amount. So this time it's talking about lemonade. So is that the X or is that the Y? Well, in this case, that's the Y. So before you put 5 as your answer, it's not asking how many days. It's saying how many lemonades must be sold, and that is 9 in this case. So it's not always going to be X. It can sometimes be the Y. Number 4, X is time in years and how much they charge in dollars. And one line says service A, one line says service B. But if I read it carefully, it says after blank years, both services will charge blank dollars. Well, in this case, it wants both. So how many years are they the same? Well, that would be 3. And how much will they charge? Well, that would be between 40 and 60, which would be 50. And that's how you interpret it.